Hello. I'm back. Yes. Hello again. I am back. I'm on. I've moved from phone to iPad, so the picture's probably not as clear. Hello, Dan. Welcome. Thanks for coming along. Now, I'm not sure that I can. Can I get back to the chat on this one? Hello, Tony. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, what happened there is I film on my iPhone and I've had it plugged in, but it then came up with this weird message about it overheating. So it basically just stopped. So I'm not quite sure. It didn't like. Right, see if I can get my chat back on this one. Thank you for all bearing with me and coming back. Hopefully those of you that were on the other stream will realise. Hello Ashley, welcome back. Now, hello Anne, welcome, thanks for coming along. Right, there we go. Right, so you don't have to hit the like again, that's no problem. Hello Warren, thanks for coming back. You had a minute to shove some more dominoes. Oh no, I understand now. Sorry, yeah, you're talking about. I was thinking about playing dominoes. You're talking about pizza, aren't you? Yeah, to shovel some more dominoes. Yeah, welcome. Thanks for coming back, Sue. And hello, Brian. Hello, Wobbly Bob. Now, you weren't here before. Thank you for coming along this evening. Now, where were we? We were talking buckets or ground, weren't we? People that grow in the ground, what do you do? Do you do the thing about earthing up your potatoes, or do you sort of plant them quite deep and not bother earthing them up? Hello, Little Farmer's Farm. Tony's in the house. Welcome along, Tony. Thanks for coming along. So, do people earth up their spuds? And if so, what do you earth up with? Do you just use soil? Do you use grass clippings? I've seen being done. What's the best method? Hello, William Coleman. Thanks for coming along from Canada in the middle of his day. That's brilliant. Thank you for coming along. Jane has been earthing them up over the last few years, but interested in seeing how it works with no dig. Yeah, I think that's a sort of thing that I'm a bit thinking in the ground about. How do you do no dig with potatoes? Benny earths them up with soil and then plants them 10 centimetres deep. Warren is going to dig the ground this year and see how it stacks up against sacks and buckets weight-wise. Hello, Jazz and Beardy Dude. Welcome for coming along, Alternative Smallholding. Julia, thank you for coming along. Hello, thank you. I didn't see you in the first chat, but you might have been there. Apologies if I missed you. William's sitting in the passport office and watching gardening videos. That is dedication. Thanks for joining me, mate. Brilliant. Um, you can hardly hear, but that's your fault. Jazz is doing a Ruth Stout experiment this year. Can you explain what that is, please, Jazz? Brian's going to only earth them up if the spuds are on the surface. Dan's Kitchen Garden and Allotment. You normally earth up spuds. This year I'm going to do one row the farmer's way, putting them in the ground and leaving them and see what happens, and see if he gets a good turnout or not. That's a good idea to see what the difference is. Kelly is trying the Charles Dowding no dig method for the earlies this year. Can you explain what that is? Jane says Tony at UK Here We Grow did a compare and contrast video last year, but you can't remember which one. Was that a contrast between the buckets and in the ground? No dig potatoes are basically like mulching. Charles Dowding did a good video on it. Serenity Meadow Permaculture, welcome, thank you for coming along. Julia does potatoes in buckets and then starts them shallow and earth them up as they grow. Tony Garden and Gizmo says that buckets won 3rd year running, so that was Tony. UK Here We Grow did well with buckets. Right, so Jazz is explaining this Ruth Stout method. It's a no-dig technique, lots of nutrition in the ground, then burying them under hay, and you add more hay as they grow up. So have you got a good supply of hay then, Jazz? Do you know somebody that's got horses or anything like that? Hello, Dave. Southpaw Davies in the house. Welcome. Thank you for coming along this evening. Today's chat is about potatoes, about spuds. Sorry, spuds is what we call potatoes. Yeah, so we're talking about different things about potatoes this evening. How are you, Dave? How's things over in Switzerland? Oh, Spuds does work for you. You know what we meant. Whereabouts are you, Serenity Meadow Permaculture? Whereabouts are you in the world? Julia says she's seen that method done with straw too. Thanks for coming along, Willie. Good luck with whatever you're doing in the passport office. Hope you get your passport sorted. Jazz has a local farm that has hay that's spoilt due to the rain. You can get that cheap. They sell it as feed, so you're happy to take it off their hands. Right, Tony says BF, bloodfish and bone mixed with 90% loose standard multi-purpose compost below and 1 inch above, handful of 6x as well, and then just use the standard multi-purpose to fill the rest of the 14-inch cut flour as the buckets. Oh, that's complicated, Tony. But basically, you're sort of layering. I'm using a different compost, cheaper compost. To create your potatoes. Right. Warren says you can use grass cuttings also in no dig to cover any surface protruding spuds. Yeah, Dave, I'm not saying anything. I don't think that, I don't think he'll lose his passport, will he? He's been there long enough. Right, Serenity Meadow Permaculture. You're in central Arkansas, zone 7B and 8A, and you do spuds with a hay method. An old farmer taught you years ago, but you've never tried it. Jazz says her first earlies always go in 30-litre buckets, and they do you think seem to do well in buckets. Serenity Meadow Permaculture used to raise Saanen milk goats and have some old bedding and leftover feed hay. Kelly has to shoot off to collect her eldest from the youth club. Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you, Kelly, for coming along. Been here from the very beginning. Have a great rest of the evening and a good weekend. Benny says in the old days he used to earth up potatoes with seaweed. Wow, now that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. Wouldn't there be a lot of salt in seaweed? Would you have to? Wouldn't you have to sort of wash it quite a bit before you put it on the ground? Otherwise, it would put a lot of salt into your soil. But yeah, I guess seaweed will work. It's an organic material, and it will cover the soils. Jazz reckons seaweed would be a great feed if it was washed first. Jane reckons seaweed makes the most brilliant compost mixed with leaves. There's a link there by Tony of Little Farmers Farm, part 1 of the 2019 Potatoes in Buckets shootout. Dave also does grass clippings. It's great mulch as long as it's spread deep, and when it's deep it will get hot. Brian prefers seaweed. How do you get hold of seaweed in Manchester? I want to know that. Have you got are you off down to the coast? They don't they feed Jersey Royals with fresh washed seaweed? They taste different to international kidney. I think it's definitely to do with the taste of Jersey Royals is definitely down to the soil. Benny reckons no compost. No washing is needed as fertiliser. It works as fertiliser too. Oh, that's good. So it doesn't add too much salt to your soil. That's good to know. What is your plan for spuds this season? Did you post a video? I've done a video last week about the potatoes that I bought. I haven't actually posted a video yet about my plans for growing potatoes, but I will do. Yeah, I'll definitely do them. When I start them off, I will definitely say what I do with growing potatoes, definitely. Wobbly Bob says some breeds of spud will grow off the stems, so need hulling up. Other breeds grow from the roots only, so just a small layer to cover shallow spuds to stop them growing green. Barry Roberts has joined. Welcome, Barry. Thank you for coming along this evening. Are you Barry from Wirral? Have I got that right? Apologies if I haven't. A day trip to Blackpool for seaweed. Yeah, that'd be great. I don't live very far away from the coast, so I should be able to get some seaweed really. Um, Jane's off. Thank you very much, Jane, for coming along this evening. It's great that you were able to come along. Thank you. Have a lovely weekend. Yep, Barry is from Wirral, up the road from me. I'm in just in North Wales. I work on the Wirral, so yeah, I'll have to come up and see your allotment at some point if you allow me. Right, sorry, Tony. I missed something about Tony's comment. I did see it, and I've gone back. Tony asked a question. Did anyone do potatoes in turd challenge last year? No, I didn't. No, a lot of people did. I think it was that set up by Terry King. I think Terry King started that. Oh, Brian's had some sent from Ireland. Brilliant. That's good. Well done. Right, I'll be saying bye to Jane. I'm just going to catch up. Back down with the chat. No, Jazz, we haven't talked about when we're starting off potatoes in pots. You're hoping to start this weekend. So yeah, what is everybody's plan for starting off potatoes? When are you going to start them? Are you going to start them in buckets soon? When will you start them if you're growing them in the ground? That's a good topic to chat about, I think. Barry, you're in West Kirby. No allotment, raised beds in the back garden. Okay, that's good. Wherever you grow stuff, that's brilliant. Yeah, I know where West Kirby is. Yeah, so Joyce is going to start 24th of March if it's dry in buckets. Jazz is starting this weekend in buckets in the greenhouse. Right, Tony said, important message. If anyone gets a comment on their channel from someone called Trap Town, delete and report as spam right away. It's a spam scam robot, and it's got him the other day. Okay, thank you for letting us know on that. So if you see anything that seems to be looking a bit odd, then delete and report straight away. Yeah, so Dave has not been able to find any seed spuds yet. So Barry's starting 30-litre buckets for his. Serenity Meadow Permaculture, you'll wait until mid-March. I don't have any seed spuds yet, and the video of the potato day. Oh yes, so you enjoyed the potato day video, that's good. Benny's early potatoes will be planted in the ground about the 10th of April. That's as always, so 10th of April is your date then, Benny. Warren is starting earlies in bags and buckets in polytunnel on Sunday. If you've got a polytunnel, then if I had space for a polytunnel, I'd love one. But yeah, that would be a great place to start off your spuds. I've got a greenhouse, but I need that space in the greenhouse for other things, so I'm not going to really do potatoes in there, I don't think. Right. Wobbly Bob is going to follow Jim's homegrown veg fast start potato idea. So that, I've seen that before. Isn't that starting in small containers and then moving them on into bigger containers? I think. Brian, Allotment Live, first and second earlies are in the beds again, so second week in March is good enough for you. Mark is, that's fine, Mark. Thank you for coming along. Call it a night. Brad, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Have a good evening. Little Farmer's Farm says he started his first spud in buckets last week, or maybe the week before, in Asda buckets. Ulster Prince, Home Guard and Red Duke of York. Those are, you used those varieties last year. I remember the Ulster Prince one and the Red Duke of York. Sue has 2 flower buckets started in the back room for extra early, but the rest will be next month. Kestrel, Barry, Kestrel, Cara, International Kidney, Duke of York and Picasso are my spuds this year. That's good. Now, Jazz is asking about Condor. Has anybody heard of Condor potatoes? So they are, if I remember rightly, these are the ones that grow really big potatoes. So they're used in competition potato growing to create one massive big potato. And I think basically what you do is sort of like have to dig up the other potatoes and just leave one, so keep taking off any small little baby potatoes, so the plant puts all its energy into producing one massive potato. Serenity Meadow Permaculture, your weather seems to have shifted a month or so later, so you're doing them later. Now Tony says he's got way too many seed spuds, so if anybody local needs some. So Tony, you're in Wigan, or near Wigan, I think, if I'm right. If anybody is in northwest England and needs some spuds, then if you contact Tony, then he might be able to help you sort out some. Hello, Catherine, My Hillside Garden. Catherine is in the US. Thank you for coming along. It's your, I'll say, early evening, I would say, is it now? Thanks for coming along this afternoon, evening. Wigan, I was right. So anybody contact Tony if they were interested in any spuds. Right, Tony reckons that Condor are a modern selected South American variety. Brian says Condor is no good for him. They're too big for his chip ban. Yeah, well done, Brian. Yeah, they are. I have seen massive ones. I mean, Tony UK Here We Grow has definitely grown Condor potatoes. I've seen them, and I think Dan from Allotment Diary, which a lot of you who've followed YouTube videos will probably know Dan. I think he's grown those in the past. 355 in, now I'm going to say Pennsylvania. Am I right, Catherine? I might be wrong. Apologies if I say if I've got wrong where you live. Correct. Oh, I was right. Thank you. Right. You aren't supposed to fry them whole, Brian, is what Jazz says. Um, Barbara's allotments here. Thank you for coming along, Barbara. Brilliant. Um, Pound Stretcher have seed potatoes for eight for a pound. So eight. I would imagine they're pretty small ones for 8 for a pound. I may be wrong. Maybe you get some big ones. I've got some from good old Wilko in the UK. If anybody knows Wilko, and we tend to get about 5 for a pound. But some of them are quite big. Like these Carolus ones are. Oh no! Can you see? Decent size anyway. I've also got some Vivaldi. They do them for a pound. Again, you get 5 seed potatoes for a pound. Enough for a couple of buckets, I guess. So yeah, well worth just checking out any of your local stores to see if they sell a few potatoes. I have noticed those of you UK. Now I'm not sponsored by any store, by the way. UK and Aldi. I have seen something in one of their leaflets to say that they're going to be doing seed potatoes in the beginning of March, something like that. I think it might be the 1st of March. So watch out in Aldi if you want. I think they don't have many varieties though, but the sort of common varieties like Charlotte and that sort of thing they'll have, and you usually get quite a few for less than a couple of quid really. Right. So gosh, Catherine says to purchase seed potatoes there it costs 19 to 25 US dollars for £1 of potatoes, for seed potatoes. Yep, 20, 20 Tony says got so here's from Wilco's 25 good sized potatoes for £2.50 I think. And they have tons. The only thing you have to watch about Wilko is it's quite a warm store, so they do start sprouting pretty quickly, so you need to get them pretty soon. Lidl do them in the Netherlands, so Joyce says Lidl. We have Lidl as well in the UK, so have a look. Could be pronounced Lidl or Lidl. Check out your local stores and see what potatoes they've got. Yeah, Jazz goes to Wilco's for tatties. Brian tried Poundland International Kidney last year and got a decent crop. Now, Ray's here. Good evening, Ray's Allotment Garden. Thank you. Yeah, 250. Right, it was 250. Tony got his 25 spuds for 250. So very good price there. Wilco really good for garden stuff. Yeah, I get quite a lot of my stuff from our local Wilco store. They're always good for seeds and seed trays and lots of bits and pieces. Right. Warren is in Ireland and Aldi have seed spuds in Ireland next Sunday, €1.49 for 1 kilogram. Charlotte, Desiree and Maris Piper. That must be the same offer that we're getting in the UK. Catherine says she gets usually saves potatoes, and I've used grocery store potatoes, and those have done okay. But you never know the variety you're growing. That's true. Um, Hello, Patricia. Sow and Grow. Hello, thank you for coming along this evening. Brian is suggesting using the upended shell of a grapefruit for slugs. So cut a grapefruit in half. I take it, scoop out all the stuff, eat it, and then put the upturned, turned over, so the skin is like a dome on the ground, and the slugs go up inside it. Is that right? Am I working that out correctly? Right, I'm losing out on, I'm missing the chat, sorry. Tony did a video on Wilco tonight. Brilliant. We'll watch that. I will definitely watch that later, Tony, or tomorrow. Right. Hello, Laura. Now, if anybody doesn't know Laura, Food, Time and Garden, welcome, Laura. Laura was my first subscriber to my YouTube channel when I started 3 years ago, and she is really supportive. She lives in Ontario in Canada, and if you haven't seen Laura's videos before, she's deleted her channel, set up a new one recently, so I haven't got many subscribers, I don't think, as yet. So could you please click on Laura's little icon and go along and see her channel, please? That'd be brilliant. Right, Ray has bought some blueberry plants from the range today for £3 each. Sorry to change subject, that's okay. No, any bargains, always worthwhile letting everybody know if they want to pop along to their local store. Jazz says that Wilco seeds are grown by Mr. Fothergill's, by the way, so their own brand seeds are Mr. Fothergill's seeds, which is a variety, for those of you who don't know that, in Canada or US, that's a variety of seeds that we have definitely in the UK. I don't know whether you have them over there. Yeah, so that's okay, Laura. Happy to give you a shout out. I'll give anybody I know a shout out. Yeah, and Ray agrees. And Jazz says I was her third subscriber, and I've been pretty much there from day one. I think, yeah, I reckon I have been there from near when you started up. So yeah, I'm happy to have been one of your first subscribers. Right, and thank you for thinking I'm awesome. That's brilliant. Right, fertiliser. What fertiliser do people use on potatoes? When you put, if you grow things in the ground, what fertiliser do you use? Do you use blood, fish and bone? Do you use anything else? And what about those grown in buckets? Particularly if you're growing in buckets, not in fresh compost, in compost that you've used before. You can see that. Warren's only got 20 subs on his channel, but it is what it is. Have a look at Bogman Warren's channel. Ashley Ashley doesn't have any subscribers. So all I'm going to say is, if you see a name of somebody on here that you're not subscribed to, and you've got it, and that person's got a channel, go out. Please go along and check them out and help each other. Right, Gary Truman, welcome. Chicken pellets. You use chicken pellets for both. I've used those. They are very good and they're organic. And Tony uses a mixture of bloodfish and bone and chicken poo. Tony's Garden and Gizmos, you use potato fertiliser and bloodfish and bone mixed into the compost or soil just below where I set the speed sprout. Above that, you don't do anything. Country Life Crafts, that is Julia. Bloodfish and bone and chicken manure pellets for both. And I will also use cold tea from the pot, especially on flowers in pots. Oh, that's a good fertiliser. Sue Jones uses bloodfish and bone and chicken pellets or 6X. That's a variety of, I think, of sort of concentrated pellets. Bogman Warren, he uses donkey dung because you've got some donkeys. Bob and Jack, that's interesting. Barry, bloodfish and bone and chicken pellets, but not both together for my spuds. You tend to lose bloodfish and bone to be found that to be better. Jazz uses comfrey, so that's comfrey leaves sort of soaked in water and allowed to rot down, and that is quite a concentrated fertiliser, definitely good. She also uses chicken poo, horse poo and nettles. Patricia has, you're all subbing each other, which is brilliant. That's great. And Serenity Meadow Permaculture, you're thinking manure, compost tea and bone and fish. Brian generally uses grow more in beds, bloodfish and bone in bags, with more feed later. Forking Allotments here, welcome. Thanks for coming along. Compost tea. So Ray has heard about compost tea today. He'd never heard of that until today. Frank's back. Welcome back, Frank. And everybody's saying hello to Forking Allotment. Wobbly Bob tried Spuds Galore versus 6X, and 6X won half the price. Is 6X basically pelleted chicken manure, or is there something else in it? Serenity Meadow Permaculture, has anyone used dry milk for calcium? So calcium, I've seen that do potatoes need quite a bit of calcium? Apologies, I needed a drink. Bloodfish and bone, potato, grow stuff in buckets. Are you saying what stinks? Is that 6X, or is that comfrey? Because I know comfrey really smells when you put it in put it in a sealed container and then allow it to rot down. Jazz uses eggshells and grinds them down. That's a good way of adding calcium. Oh yeah, 6X. You're talking about 6X. Yeah, it is quite strong. I wondered if it was some sort of concentrated manure pellet, basically. Jazz reckons 6x is nice compared to comfrey and nettles. Yeah, the smell of comfrey and nettles rotting down, not a smell that I particularly enjoy. Yeah, Ray, we should all have the best potatoes this year trying these tips. Right, Brian says spuds need a low pH to keep the scab down. So does calcium lower the pH? Is that what you're suggesting there, Brian? Right. Serenity Meadow Permaculture says an old-timer trick of dry milk for blossom end rot on tomatoes. Wobbly Bob says the 6x he used has loose flakes with a slight molasses smell. Ooh, that sounds nice, sort of like a rich, sweet smell. Patricia Sow and Grow says, we may have missed this, but did anyone suffer blight last season? We haven't really discussed blight. Laura is saying she's taking notes on growing spuds, never had much luck. Too many boulders in her yard. You can grow boulders just fine. Grow them in pots, grow them in buckets, grow them in some sort of bags, you know, some sort of container maybe, Laura. That would be my advice. If you can. Obviously you've got to keep them watered. And containers, I always think difficult to keep watered. Warren is going, Bogman, thanks very much for coming along this evening. Have an enjoyable evening. Enjoy your dinner. Great that you were able to come along. Ray's not growing them in the ground this year. Too hard to find them in the ground. Laura's tried bags and buckets, but they had nubs all over them, so they were like scabby, basically, I would say. Yeah, scabby potatoes. They can be if you grow them in buckets, I guess. Probably too much water. We've talked about favourite spuds, Patricia, but by all means tell us what your favourites are. It's like an Easter egg hunt. Laura says it's like an Easter egg hunt looking for spuds. How do you get rid of scab? I think it is down to watering. I think it's not enough water, or I may be wrong. Anybody expert on scab? Right, Frank says he's going to trial a couple of tubs using just bone meal, which apparently has a low pH, after giving them too much nitrogen last year. So more food for the tubers rather than the leaves. So basically not feeding the leaves but trying to encourage them to produce more tubers. Julia lost her outdoor tomatoes to blight and had a bit on her spuds, but not enough to stop you getting a good harvest. I think if you start your potatoes off early enough, some of the first earlies and second earlies, you can avoid the peak time for blight. So it tends to get blight more later on in the season when it's sort of humid and damp. Hot, humid weather is what encourages blight to grow. So I think if you grow blight resistant varieties for later, for your main crop. And if you're able to start your potatoes off early, then maybe you can avoid blight before it particularly hits. Right. You don't get as many varieties in Canada and the US. Laura's saying that, and I've seen a comment from Catherine, says they don't list yours as earlier, second earlier Maine. No, we do have a lot of potato varieties, seed potato varieties here, and they do list what type they are. So I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'll be able to advise you on US varieties that would be considered to be early varieties. I guess maybe try and find out from your farmers as to which ones are early. Right. Thank you, Serenity Meadow Permaculture. That's great that you were able to come along. Apologies if I'm missing, the chat's moving really quickly now, so I may have missed some of your comments. Ashley says search for Blight Watch and tells you when blight conditions are bad, and it's free. You can, if you're in the UK, you can sign up, put your postcode in. That's good advice, Ashley. Thank you. Julia says as soon as you see it, take the foliage off at ground level and leave the spuds in the ground for a couple of weeks before harvesting. Tony reckons hot damp conditions is spot on. Sarpo Mira have very good resistance. Yeah, a lot of the Sarpo varieties have good resistance. Cara is another variety in the UK that has good resistance. As I mentioned to you, this one, a few of you, Carolus is supposed to be a good variety for blight resistant. Thank you, Jazz, for mentioning, clicking the like. Yeah, Catherine's saying that you wish the farmers did tell you, but you don't think that they want to, because they want you to buy their potatoes. Tony, UK Here We Grow is here. Thank you for coming along, Tony. We've been talking spuds and the best varieties, and we've just been talking about blight and blight resistant varieties. What's the best way of growing potatoes to avoid blight? Catherine enjoys seeing what others grow as far as potatoes, and I hope you find them here someday. Becky's back. I did see you had gone away to have sort out your food. Thank you for coming back, Becky. So yeah, Tony, we've just been talking about blight, and you've got to mention about your condor potatoes. Forking allotments, you had Salad Blue, Red Duke of York and Maris Piper last year. Didn't get many potatoes due to what you think was wireworm or eelworm. So try growing in the bed, which I grew green manure. So you're going to try them in a bed where you've grown green manure in during the winter. I tend to get wireworm damage when growing in the ground, but I don't get it when I grow in buckets. So buckets to avoid wireworm was my advice. Oh, and sorry, and Tony's advice. Yeah, Tony reckons growing in buckets to stop wireworm. Country Life Crafts, you're doing Charlotte and Maris Piper and Aaron Pilot as a wild card potato. I love the idea of a wild card potato. Yeah, try and grow something different that you've not grown before. Is that? Oh yeah, Little Farmer's Farm has got a picture of what looks like a centipede or a worm. Um, Idaho Garden Girl, hello, welcome, thanks for coming along. Um, we're talking potatoes. Talking allotment, you may try some in buckets if you can get hold of some decent sized ones. Yeah, get big buckets. 30 litre buckets is what Tony's suggesting. If you're in the UK, I think you are, you can get those online. There's loads of places that do them. Tony, if you check out Tony's UK Here We Grow channel, you can get a discount, if I'm right, with Oakland's Garden with regard to buckets. So check out Tony's channel, he'll point you in the right direction. Yeah, Brian strongly recommends Aaron Pilot. Frank is trying Maris Piper Shot Bought this year. It was Tony Little Farmer's Farm. That was the closest you could find to a wireworm. Oh, that's good. Yep, yeah, Tony, UK Here We Grow will get. There's a discount code in order for you to get some buckets. Tony, you're growing Condor, Sarpomira, Rudolph, Cara, Kestrel, and Charlotte. Yeah, that sound. Little Farmer's Farm, I'll be getting 10 buckets this weekend for the 30 litre. Becky has tried Aaron Pilot last year and they all got blight, but the rest were fine. Frank's just got 70 quid's worth of tubs from Oakland Gardens. Never thought for checking UK Here We Go for a code. Oh, sorry about that, Frank. But if you want to get any more, yeah, check out UK Here We Go for a code. Have you tried Valor instead of Sarpo? Much better flavour. Now I grew Valor last year, I think on Jazz's recommendation, and they were a good tasting potato and reasonably good yields. Definitely in the ground they produce good yields. Jazz, Tony reckons they break up in mash. Best two last year for Sow and Grow was Maris Bard and Kestrel. Yeah, Valor is a nice variety. Jazz has used them as chips, roasties and jackets, and they're good for those. And I agree with that because I've definitely had them as Enviromesh. Will it stop blight? No, it's a fungal disease. So basically it's washed down in the rain, and I would say Enviromesh wouldn't stop it at all. Enviromesh will keep out insect pests, but not fungal pests, I would say. Blight, there isn't much treatment you can do for blight. There did used to be copper-based compounds. Oh, there we go. Tony says that if you're suffering from blight, look out for Blight Guard. So that there is something then that we can use. That's definitely worth checking out by JBA. So look that one up if you're suffering from blight. Becky says Rudolph make lovely roast potatoes. Barry, you've got to go. Thanks for the chat. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Patricia, can we talk storage? We talked a little bit about storing them, but yeah, we can. We can talk about storage. Sacks, potato sacks. Some people keep them in the fridge. Right. Jazz, talking about roast potatoes has made Jazz hungry and wants roast potatoes now. And King Edwards from her local homegrown, from her local farm, make the best roasties. William Coleman's back in the house. He's back home. Did you get your passport? That's all. That's what we want to know, William. Did you get your passport, or are you being deported? Frank says, yo. Never got a potato big enough to make a decent jacket spud. Any big ones had more holes than Swiss cheese. Yeah, if you get wireworm, that's definitely a problem. Yeah. Patricia used Hessian coffee sacks, but maybe they let too much light in. Where were you storing them, I guess, is the other thing. You've got to store them a little bit somewhere cool and dark, I'd say. Not somewhere warm or where there could be too much light. You got your application in, William. You could use a spud for ID. Okay. Last year has been really bad for slugs, and without the cold this winter, you think it's going to be awful. I mean, it's been very warm and wet this winter, hasn't it? Not many of the nasties will have been killed off. You keep them in the garage, Patricia. So yeah, that should be pretty cool and dark. William Coleman's Willies didn't store brilliantly this winter. Where do you keep yours, Willie? Do you keep them in your garage or somewhere under the house or something? Jazz use old chicken feed sacks to store them, double paper layers, which has in the pantry, which has no heating. Joyce, thank you very much for coming along. You have a nice weekend too. Thank you. Brilliant that you were involved tonight. Nemeslug. That's that sort of variety of stuff that's you're creating sort of like nematodes, little tiny wormy things that bore into the slug's breathing hole and then kill them off, I think. Tony, UK Here We Grow, has done videos on creating your own slug control, so check those out. Willie kept his in the garage in the dark and cool, but they wanted to sprout and shriveled. Must have found light from somewhere. Yeah. Jazz, thank you for coming along. Yeah, great that you were able to join in the chat. Had a great interaction this evening. Have a good evening. Yeah, Brian only grows what the family will eat. Yeah, that is definitely a thing. That is a good thing to do, Brian, because you can. I've made that mistake in the past when I've been growing things in the past that I've not really enjoyed eating. I'm like one of the things is growing broad beans, Don't really like broad beans, so don't bother growing broad beans anymore. Um, so grow things that you like to eat. Grow things you like that your family like to eat is definitely the thing to do. Right, Tony, UK Here We Grow, being a celiac, both him and his son go through loads of veg, so it's definitely worth growing lots of different veg, because there's lots of things you can't eat as a celiac, gluten things, if I'm right. Right, forking allotments is pretty much the same. A few experimental crops. Laura has grown broad beans too for 3 years and don't really care for them either. Yeah, don't grow them. That's my advice. Don't grow things you don't like. It's always worth trying new things though, and thinking, oh yeah, I'll give that a try. But each year I try some things, and some of the things I will grow again, and others, no, don't like the taste, I'm not going to grow it again. Ray's grows broad beans in polytunnel. They've gone mad. Laura found that the broad beans grow really well for her. So you're going to try and learn to like them, okay. Brian only grows a few broad beans, as you're the only one that likes them. The broad beans are just popping their heads now, but just as well as the rain and flooding. Yeah, it's been rubbish weather, hasn't it? Rubbish weather in the UK this winter. Too much rain. Becky likes fresh broad beans but froze some last year and they're disgusting frozen. Rotating spuds into last season's brassica beds, is that right? We haven't talked about rotation, and Willie's mentioning rotation. You're not bothering. So if you grow in beds, do you rotate your things around? Because there's the 3-bed rotation system that's been growing, been going for years. Tony reckons crop rotation is a bit of a myth if you look after your soil. So basically, if you can grow things year after year in the same soil if you look after it and don't let pests build up too much, I guess. That's the thing to watch out for. Try and save space for a wild card is what Brian is suggesting. And Tony's grown the same crops in areas for years with no issues. Wobbly Bob reckons you could grow rice in this as well. It keeps up. Yeah, I reckon you could. But I think they would need a bit warmer weather. Idaho Garden Girl does rotate. Ray says you thought brassicas should go in potato bed. Frank is using the same bed for onions and garlic, but I'm using square yard tomato bed for some spuds this year. Becky doesn't bother with rotation, but I had to move the onions bed due to white rot. Brian always rotates. Sorry, Tony, he's old school. Right. William Coleman reckons I haven't had any blight, so I figure if I throw in a bunch of peat moss and fluff it up a bit, it should be okay. Feed the microbial life and then grow green manures that are biofumigants, and this will kill any pathogens in the soil. Tomatoes have been in the same location 5 years running and have never had blight. Falk in Allotment says he's pretty old school and learned from his granddad. Ashley doesn't rotate, he gets dizzy. Very good. Sow and Grow. Do you have Patricia is from Sow and Grow? Laura's asking, do you have a video on broad bean pesto? That sounds nice. Something to do with broad beans. Frank, tomatoes will be going in tubs as they didn't do too well last year in a new bed. Ray, I must admit Spuds in my no dig worked well. Tony reckons he likes the old rules. Been growing since he was 5 and you're 45 now. However, you also like to test and stretch the rules until they break. What about me? William Coleman's asking, what will I use the same soil for Spuds at all? I've been growing in buckets and I do tend to use the same soil in buckets and add a little bit of usually pelleted chicken manure, but I think this year I might try a bit of bloodfish and bone, and I've not had any problems in using the same compost again. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing a little bit of that. I do buy some fresh compost, particularly for seed sowing and things like that. But yeah, I will definitely be using some of the same soil that I've used before. Crop rotation is about the addition of the likes of horse manure, good for the spuds the first year, and then it rots down, eventually accommodate the likes of carrots, for example. So yeah, I see what you're suggesting there, Brian. Patricia, can you ask a question? Yeah, ask it away, Patricia. Even if it's off-piste, ask the question. Right, Tony reckons don't use chicken manure, it's too high in nitrogen, you get too much top growth and small tubers. Use bloodfish and bone, or is that Vitex Q4? Yeah, I've seen that before, Vitex Q4. Right, I'll do that, Tony, because I did get a lot of growth, top growth on my potatoes last year, and not a lot of growth, so that might have been part of the problem. Ray is asking, would you reuse ex-tomato soil for potatoes mixed with new compost in pots? I don't see why not, unless the tomatoes have had blight. You know, if you've had blight in the pots from the tomatoes, don't use it again. I would suggest. Yeah, that's what Tony's suggesting as well. Right. Patricia says her allotment was smitten with allium leaf miner last year. We were told not to grow alliums this year. Allotment secretary has seen maggots in last year's onion beds. Yeah, so I don't think they should be able to say you shouldn't be able to grow something. You can't say to everybody you can't grow onions, I would say. You need to take precautions, I would say, for allium leaf miner, and protect your plants from growing them, from them being attacked at the right time of the year. They wouldn't be, I wouldn't say the maggots, I don't think the maggots from them would actually be in the ground. They might be in last year's onions. Tony from UK Here We Grow is in the middle of writing a post on allium leaf miner, so stand by. It's a big post, it will take about a week to finish. So okay, so Tony's going to give us some advice on allium leaf miner, which I suffered from in my garlic last year, I think. So I'll be interested to see what's suggested. Yeah, I think you should be able to use the compost again as long as it's not had any disease. Ray. Patricia says we're going to be wait with bated breath. Allium leaf miner is not in where Willie lives in Canada yet, but you're dreading its arrival. It's not in all parts of the UK yet. It's been spreading up from south to north, but we had it last year and I'd never had it before. So and I'm in North Wales. So further north in the UK you might not have had it yet. Becky has got a leak moth. It destroyed her leeks. Yeah, it's a nightmare if you have it. Right. Now I've been on for quite a long period of time now, and I'm getting pretty tired. So I think I've been on for about an hour and 3/4. So I'd like to end this live stream this evening, if that's okay. It's been very good. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, or this afternoon, if you're over in the other side of the world. I'd like to thank you all for participating, joining in on this great chat about spuds. I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope the weather is kind to you wherever you are, and I'd like to say thanks very much for joining me at Nick's Allotment, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye night.